So I'm surrounded by 61 books. Hello everyone! My name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to what I hopefully think is the last haul of 2020. If you've been here all of 2020 with me, at the beginning of 2020, I decided to go on like a book buying ban. That lasted 29 days. I have tried to be mindful about the buying that I've done in 2020, and my first book haul was very small and very reasonable because I had kept up that mindset. Then the second book haul of 2020 that I've done was a little bit bigger. It was 30 plus books. And well, quarantine hit me hard, you guys. I just kind of went, books give me so much joy, and buying books is just a pleasure of mine. And so I went off. So I'm surrounded by 61 books, and I'm not sure if that is all of them, because I stopped keeping track in my bullet journal of the books that I hauled. To keep this video as short as I can, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about every single book because you guys have also seen them in other videos of mine. I've also separated them into categories just because I felt like I needed to at least have some semblance of order, otherwise I would just be naming them. Let's just start with the books that I have been given or gifted this last chunk of 2020. My birthday was in the month of September, so I did get a fair few books from my friends. You've seen a few of them because I did do a birthday vlog, so we're just gonna get into it. The first one is The Winter King by C.L. Wilson. This is a fantasy romance. That is all I know. I got this from Avery for my birthday. She sent it to me. The second one is also from a lovely lady, and that is Radiance by Grace Draven. This was given to me by my lovely friend Ashley, who does the Lovely Ladies book club with me and Avery, which I'm so excited about, and it is again a fantasy romance. The next two were gifted to me by my lovely friend Sophie. She found them both at like a secondhand store and thought I would be interested in them, which is super kind of her. The first is the graphic novel To the Sea of Monsters, which is the second book in the Percy Jackson series. I have already read this and I enjoyed it. It's super fun to experience one of my favorite stories, the Percy Jackson series, in a different media. And then she also gave me this one, which is the Reformed Vampire Support Group by Catherine Jinks. And it says on the bottom here, it's one of the little quotes from the bulletin. It is a first-rate comedy with equal appeal for avid vampire fans and those who wouldn't be caught dead with a copy of Twilight. So this sounds right up my alley. My lovely friend Yeleni got me a graphic novel, the graphic novel for Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Imbalance storyline, part 1, which is super exciting. I don't think I've read this one yet, but I have read the graphic novel of the Avatar: The Last Airbender series that comes right after the show ends because they are in a storyline, like a timeline. So this one is later in the timeline, I do believe, because it was released the most recently. I believe. I might be wrong, don't quote me on that. Oh, I forgot a book downstairs. So my lovely friend Sarah also got me The Howl's Moving Castle, which I totally forgot to bring upstairs with me. I told you guys there's more, so that makes it 62 books that I've hauled so far. I swear there's more on my shelves too that I just don't remember. So I also got a lovely package from my friend Cassandra, and she gave me 2 books. She gave me Love, Life, and the List by Casey West, which is a YA romance or YA contemporary. And then she also gave me Becky Albertalli and Aisha Saeed's Yes, No, Maybe So, which is again a YA contemporary, but it is very poignant for this time because it is about voting and like 2 people who work the voting poll things and go door to door to get people to vote, that kind of a thing. And then I also got a package from my mom's friend out in BC. She sends me books every year, and she did send me a book that I already had, which I exchanged for another book that I then bought, which I will talk about later in this video. But she also sent me this one, which I don't own, and I am intrigued by it, and is Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen, which is also a movie, I believe, with Robert Pattinson. It was made into a movie a few years ago. This is historical fiction. So those were all the books that I was gifted for my birthday. Now, I did also get gifted just recently from my Amazon wishlist. My lovely friend Sarah Sutton sent me a book, which made me so happy. If you guys want to send me books, you don't have to. My Amazon wishlist is always in my description below. You don't have to send me them though. Sarah sent me Bring Me Their Hearts by Sarah Wolf, and I'm so excited about this one because I also think this is Avery's favorite YA fantasy. So that's why I had it on my Amazon wishlist, and it just sounds really cool, and this cover is beautiful. And I do believe the third book in this series was released really recently. All right, so those were all like personally gifted to me by friends and whatever. And then I have a stack of a few that were sent to me by a publisher. So I have technically four arcs, but one of them is what I will talk about next in my holiday pile. And these three were all from HarperCollins from their HCC Frenzy event in the summer. I got invited to it. Thank you so much, HarperCollins, for that. It was so much fun. We all got arcs sent to us, just a selection of them, and I ended up getting Miss Meteor by Taylor K. Mejia and Anna Marie Mecklemore. This is, I believe, a YA queer book that has a little bit of magic to it about beauty pageants, I think. I also got an arc of Tiffany G. Jackson's Grown, and this is a hard-hitting contemporary story about a girl who one day wakes up in a place where her much older boyfriend has been killed, murdered, and she's the prime suspect. She gets into the music industry, and this man finds interest in her and starts going out with her and like creating a relationship with her, even though she's very young. She's 17 and he's a lot older, so it has that aspect to it. And then we also have Master of One by Jada Jones and Danielle Bennett. This is, I believe, just released, and this is a YA fantasy about fae and fairies. And it has Rags, who is a talented thief who is tasked with gathering these fae relics, and one of them is a fae himself, which he didn't know. So it's also a male-male romance between them, I believe, which I'm very excited to get to and to read. Then I was gifted these two. A publisher that I'm doing a partnership with in December. It will be part of a readathon that will be part of like a wintry, Christmassy book readathon that I'll be doing this December, so make sure to watch out for that so you can find out what these two are. We'll just dive in at random because this one is kind of on its own. It is my friend Sarah Sutton's Halloween romance, If the Broom Fits, which is so lovely. I was one of her like proofreaders for this, and it is so, so good. And it is a little novella, super cute and super fun, and it is witchy and very Halloweeny, and I love it. Next, we'll talk about this one because this one's also kind of just a one-off. It is Henry James's Turn of the Screw and Other Ghost Stories. It is one of the Penguin Classics versions because I have all these spines on my shelves, and these are ones that I'd love to collect. But I'm also picked it up because for my personal book club, we're reading Turn of the Screw, which is going to be great. All right, so you've seen these next few books in a recent video that I did, which was my like winter reads recommendations, Christmas recommendations, and then my holiday TBR. So these books are awesome and I'm very excited about them. And I also have another one coming to me. I have two actually coming to me that have not yet arrived. But I'll mention them anyways. I have Miracle on Ebenezer Street, which is a Christmassy middle grade, which I'm so excited about. And then I'm also getting Mistletoe and Mr. Right. They're on their way to me, so I'm very excited about those. The first one I'll talk about is another arc that I got from HarperCollins, which is All About Us by Tom Ellen. This is a second chance romance, turn back the clock type of romance where a man gets a second chance to redo the biggest decision of his life. So very excited about this one. I also picked up Christina Lauren's In a Holidays, which is a Groundhog Day style narrative. I said that wrong in my other video. I also picked up an indie Christmas book, which is A Very Perry Christmas, which is a little novella where a girl named Gwen goes to her boyfriend's family for Christmas and it turns out to be a disaster, so I'm very ready for Christmas shenanigans. I also picked up Royal Holiday, which is Jasmine Guillory's European Christmassy holiday book, which I'm so excited about, so excited to read this Christmassy time. And I also picked up 12 Dates of Christmas by Jenny Bayliss, which involves this girl who is kind of just tired of romance and whatever, and she's just like, whatever, I don't need it, I have a great life. But her friend signs her up for this dating agency that promises 12 dates before Christmas, finding love before Christmas, so there's 12 dates in 23 days with 12 different men. I'm very excited for this one too. The shenanigans are going to be very fun. We'll just dive into romance as well because that connects really well. So I also have hauled Wicked and the Wallflower by Sarah MacLean. I have also read this one and really, really loved it. I myself am pitching it to you as a romantic Peaky Blinders. And I also have The Switch by Beth O'Leary, which is the second book by the author who wrote my favorite book last year, The Flat Share. And I still haven't read this one yet. This one, I believe, is about a girl and her grandma end up switching places because they both need a little bit of a switch up. So Lena goes to a tiny Yorkshire village where Eileen then moves to a London flat, and they kind of have a little bit of a switcheroo of lifestyles and that kind of thing, and also find love. Maybe? Possibly? Don't know, but it sounds fun. These next 4 books are books that I actually got for free from my mom's friend, and I talked about them recently in a blog, so we're just going to go through them really quickly. I got this literary fiction, All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. I know nothing about it. And just free books? Yes. And then I got 3 historical fictions. So I got The Paris Seamstress by Natasha Lester. I've got The Japanese Lover by Isabel Allende, and then we also have The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. These are all centered around the 1940s, possibly, so very excited about these. I got 2 witchy books, literary fiction books, these 2. So I picked up The Witches of New York, which is a finalized copy of an arc that I had. I got it specifically because the arc that I was reading didn't really follow the audiobook that I was listening to. It was missing big chapters, but then when I got this, I realized doing the same exact thing, which makes me really, really sad because I don't know why it does that. I don't know. Maybe the audiobook has extra chapters. Maybe a different edition of this book has extra chapters. I'm not sure, but I did pick this up, which is great because it's one of my favorite books of this year. I won this in an Instagram giveaway. So it is A Secret History of Witches by Louisa Morgan, which follows, I believe, generational stories of witches and like Salem witch trials. A sweeping historical saga that traces 5 generations of fiercely powerful mothers and daughters, witches whose magical inheritance is both a dangerous threat and an extraordinary gift. I also picked up this one at a thrift store, which I'm very excited to have found because I actually got rid of my copy last year not knowing what it was about. And one of my friends has said this is one of her favorite books of all time. A lot of people this like fall have said that this is the most fall atmospheric amazing book. So when I saw it at a thrift store, I just had to get it back into my hands, which is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. All I know is that this is about a book and somebody who finds this book and sets out to find out a lot about the author. I don't know, but it's also in 1945 Barcelona, which is amazing. I also picked up the second book in Signe Pike's Scottish Queen trilogy, which is The Forgotten Kingdom. I read the first book this year and absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite books. It was such a surprise to me, and it deals with Scottish legend and myth, the forgotten Scottish Queen Langoreth, who is the rumored sister of the man who inspired the myth of Merlin, which is so cool, and I cannot wait to keep going with this incredibly intense series. Then I picked up Lucy Foley's The Guest List, which I have also read, and I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable and atmospheric, but it just wasn't my favorite. It is a murder mystery where you follow multiple POVs throughout the entire thing. It is a wedding set on a rural island off of the coast of Ireland. Somebody gets murdered. You don't know who got murdered or who is the murderer. So you're reading from all these perspectives and you don't know which one's which until the very end, of course. Then I've also picked up Jakul by Dacre Stoker and J.D. Barker, which I am currently still reading at the time of filming this video, which is partway through November. I'm excited about this one. This is the official prequel to Dracula, based off of Bram Stoker's real life notes and stuff when he was writing Dracula. The next 2 that I'll talk about are 2 that I got from a little store in Ontario, which is called the Littlest Online Bookshop. I actually have their business card here. The Littlest Online Bookshop, which is in Ontario, which is super fun. If you guys want to go visit it, go for it. I picked these 2 up because they were like blind date with a books, and I didn't really know what they were until I got them, but they're so fun because one of them is like a Persephone Hades type of retelling with like Greek gods, which is so fun. And this one is like a classic fantasy with dragons type of thing, which I'm very excited. So this is The Master Harper of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. This is The Goddess Test by Amy Carter. I have not read either of these yet, but I do plan on doing so soon. This is getting us into the more adult fantasy realm. Read this one. It's House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This is one of my favorite books of the year, favorite books of all time. I absolutely loved this. This is about Linus Baker, who is a government worker at a government agency that controls all the magical children and that are orphaned, puts them in orphanages, and he is a caseworker who goes to orphanages to make sure that they're still running okay. One day he gets a task to go to an really dangerously labeled orphanage on an island somewhere that he's never even heard about, and so he goes for a month to fulfill his job, and it is about changing your opinion on the world, changing your worldviews, really understanding people. It is the most heartwarming story I've ever read. It's like middle grade for adults, and I love it so much. And another book that I picked up also really recently that you guys have seen before on my channel is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This, I believe, is a story about a lady named Nora who attempts suicide and gets basically shown this midnight library where she gets to see what her life would have been if she had made different choices in her life, which sounds really cool, and I know that it's poignant and beautiful and heartbreaking, so I'm ready for this. Then I have picked up 2 copies of my favorite book of the year, possibly favorite book of all time, probably most definitely favorite book of all time, and that is The Starless Sea. So I got the UK edition, which is, I think, my favorite book ever, favorite cover ever. It is just stunning. And then I also picked up the paperback version, which was at Costco once, and I was like, it's my favorite book, I have to have multiple copies of it. And this cover I didn't really love at the beginning, but it's growing on me. It is definitely growing on me for sure. It's not my favorite cover. The more I see it, the more I like it. So then I pre-ordered this book and it came in the mail, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is the Indigo Exclusive edition. I have also received the pre-order incentive from Tor, which included beautiful postcards of art, and I ended up taping them in my book because they're very pretty. And I used tape that I like first stuck on myself so that it can easily be removed without tearing the end papers of this book, because the end papers of this book, they're just so beautiful and they're my favorite thing. And I didn't want to wreck them. But yeah, I had those 2, and then I have 2 in the back as well, which are super pretty. Adult fantasy. I picked this one up at a thrift store this year as well, and that is Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is another one that I got rid of my copy, and I'm so mad at myself for doing so. This is another one that people absolutely adore, and I'm intrigued by it, and I will definitely be reading it probably in 2021. The next one I got is one that actually came in the mail today. It got delivered this morning by the lovely Purelator Man, and I'm in love with this cover, and I cannot wait to read it. I think I'm gonna probably have to read it really soon because I'm just so excited about it, and that is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Oh, this one is just so pretty. Look at this cover. Look at it, not me. Oh, so pretty. I'm so excited about this one. I know nothing about it. It is book 1 of the Between Earth and Sky trilogy, which is inspired by the civilization of the pre-Columbian Americas and woven into a tale of celestial prophecies, political intrigue, and forbidden magic. I know that Reagan from Prue's Project was reading this recently and absolutely loved it, so I immediately ordered it because I trust her opinions with my entire life. And then I also picked up this absolute chunker of a man. I don't know if I've hauled this one yet. This one might have been hauled because I did buy it in like August. That is The Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, which I'm so excited about. This is the 2nd book in the Stormlight Archives series of his, and it is huge. But I'm ready. I'm ready to just live in this fantasy world forever. Okay, so we got 2 categories left. We got YA fantasy and then middle grade. So we're gonna do YA fantasy first because it is a tall stack. We've got first and foremost A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I know there has been a lot of controversy around this one, and I'm very aware of it going into this. I'm still intrigued to try and read it to see if I like it anyways, because when this one was pitched and first released on the internet, like we got news that it was coming out, the way it was pitched was the way that I would have pitched my very first novel that I wrote in fantasy, in the fantasy genre, which shocked me to my core, and I was like, well, I have to read that now to see how she wrote it, which is such a weird reason to buy a book, but I did it, and it is about a kind of a dark fantasy, dark magical school. I don't know anything else about it, but I'm intrigued by it, and I'm looking forward to picking it up. The next one I have is the sequel to the Guinevere Deception by Kirsten White, and that is the Camelot Betrayal. The Guinevere Deception was such a huge surprise for me this year. It blew me away because I was reading it and I was like, this is going nowhere. There's no plot. It's so slow. But then by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, I'm so in love with this book. It is so beautifully written. And yes, it is a slow, soft fantasy. I'm calling it a soft fantasy because nothing really huge happens. It is set in Camelot. We have Guinevere, who is a changeling. We have King Arthur, who's married to Guinevere because she's supposed to protect him from something. But like, nothing happens really, but it's so beautiful and I'm so excited to keep reading it and see what happens with these characters. I can't wait. The next one is Among the Beasts and Briars by Ashley Poston, or Poston. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce her last name, but it is so pretty. And I know it's one of those covers that is going to reflect the light really funny, but it is so pretty. And if you look really close, all of these little naturey bits are like actually nature things, like feathers and petals of flowers and leaves. And even on the back, we have a little bear made out of petals. I'm so excited. This, all I know is that it's a dark fairy tale. So very excited about this. The next one is one that I actually have read. And that is Sky Hunter by Marie Lu. This is a contender for one of my favorite covers of the year. And I'm so excited about it. I'm also so excited to see where this series goes. I really enjoyed this first one. I ended up getting the audiobook on Libby to read alongside of it, and it was very, very good. So it is about Talon, who is a striker, and strikers are the elite warriors of this military task force in this last remaining country that has not been taken over and attacked by this federation that is trying to take over the entire world, coast to coast, basically. And so they fight, they're in a war continuing to fight to keep Mara, their country, free. Talon is a refugee from one of these countries that was taken over by the Carenza Federation, and she lost her voice in the raid that her town was attacked in, where her mother and her had to run across the bridges to get into Mara for safety. And so she lost her voice. So in this, she does not speak at all. She uses sign language throughout this entire thing, which is really cool because the strikers in this also like almost exclusively communicate through these signs, which is so cool. And it was such an interesting aspect of this. But anyway, so Talon at the beginning of the story, her shield, her striker partner dies, and it is kind of her fault. And so her world gets turned upside down when that happens, but it also gets turned upside down again when a prisoner of war is brought forward and she saves him from execution. I grabbed the wrong one. I grabbed the first one. I meant to grab the second one. Well, pretend that this is the Faithless Hawk by Margaret Owen. The second book in the Merciful Crow trilogy series thing that's coming out. And I'm very excited because The Merciful Crow was one of my most surprising favorite YA reads of this year so far. It is so cool and the world building is intense. The next book is one I am so excited to get to, and I will be getting to as soon as I'm done my current reads. This is going to be the next one that I pick up, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I am ridiculously excited about this. It is basically Arthurian legend mixed with Black Girl magic, mixed with urban fantasy, which I'm so excited about. I'm so excited. I'm excited about all these books, let's be real. Then I also hauled, at some point, I'm not entirely sure, I hauled both The Red Queen and Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. I'm not entirely sure if I included Red Queen in my previous haul, but I know I didn't include Glass Sword, so I decided to just include them both here. I've read Red Queen already and really, really enjoyed it, and I've heard everybody on the internet yelling at me that I'm gonna hate the second one and I'm gonna be so sad about it. But listen, I'm going into this series specifically for the enjoyment of a kind of trashy YA series. Like, this is in the peak of like typical YA that people think about when they think of YA fantasy, you know? It's just, I'm not going in it for like an exceptionally well-written book. I'm just going in for some enjoyment. So there's that. Next, I picked up a indie book off of Amazon by Elise Kova. It is her Awakens book 1. I've seen this series all over Instagram and people love it. And she just released a new book, something about an elf king, that I went to go buy that one actually. It was out of stock on Amazon. So I was like, well, I'm here anyways. Might as well pick up another one of her books just to see if I like her writing. And I've seen this specific series on Instagram before and people really like it. So I picked it up and I'm excited to read it. I really don't know anything about it. All I know is that on the back it says, a library apprentice, a sorcerer prince, and an unbreakable magic bond. The next one is another sequel, and that is Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin. I loved Serpent and Dove when I read it last year. It was a guilty pleasure book. Yes, it's not great, but I still really enjoyed it. And I'm excited to see where it goes in this one. So it's basically just the Serpent and Dove trilogy is about a witch and a witch hunter who have to get married after extraneous circumstances, and shenanigans keep going from there. I don't know how else to describe this. And then I also hauled Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko, which I have already read and already adored. I think this might be in the running for my favorite YA fantasy of this year. I'm so in love with it. It's so good. It's impeccable. This is about Tari Sai, who has been basically in isolation for her childhood. Her mother, who is called only the Lady, has kept her there. But one day when Tari Sai grows up a little bit, she is tasked to go to the kingdom basically and try to become one of the prince's council. And once she does, her mother tells her that once she does, she is magically compelled to obey. When she loves the prince, she must kill him. And that is only like the first 100 pages of the book. This book is crazy. There's so much that goes on in it and it is so good. This world is so bright and colorful and intense and I love it so much. Everybody needs to read this book. All right, friends, we are going on to our last category, middle grade. We're gonna do the one middle grade that is not Rick Riordan Presents, and that is Nola Homes, which is the first book in the Nola Homes series. This is based off of the Netflix film. We have Paula Santiago and the River of Tears by Taylor K. Mejia, which I have read and liked. It was good. Could have done a lot better though, I think. Yeah. You guys have seen it on my channel before. I also have The Dragon Pearl by Yoon Ha Lee, which is a Korean sci-fi book that I have yet to read, but I'm excited to. And then I have Sal and Gabby Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez, and I loved this book. This is probably the funniest middle grade that I've ever read, and it is so good. Oh, it's so good, and it's so heartwarming. I went into it kind of expecting a little bit more action, but the action that you get in this is very like humorous middle school type of vibes, and it is set in like a different universe than ours a little bit because there's a little bit of science in here that I don't think actually exists in our world. So it's super fun, and Sal, our main character, can basically rip holes in the universe, which is so cool. And then we have my lovely, lovely last 3 books that I'm going to talk about. I can't believe we made it through this haul this quickly, to be honest. I have 3 Rick Riordan books that I have picked up. I have the second book in the Magnus Chase series, and this is The Hammer of Thor. I read the first one this summer and really enjoyed it, so I picked up this one. That is Rick Riordan's Norse mythology trilogy. And then I have the second and the third of the Trials of Apollo series. So I have the Burning Maze and I have the Dark Prophecy, which I both got from Abe Books because they don't make these hardcovers anymore and sell them in store, so I had to go searching for them. This one is actually a library binding. That's why it has like a weird shiny matte look to it, and then this one was used by children. It says, "Don't touch my book," with a frowny face on it, and I had tried to take a pencil eraser to it to try and get it off, but it didn't work. We made it through 60 plus books. I'm not shocked at all that I've accumulated this many books in the latter half of 2020. I have already pre-ordered a few books for 2021, and I'm going to not allow myself to buy this many books again next year. I'm saying it here now so you guys keep me accountable, because I don't know what this does to my TBR, the amount of books on my TBR. I'm gonna have to do a recount in my later videos this year to see, because we started this year at like 180 some books, not counting my classics. And at one point, I believe in the summer, we brought it down to like 130, which is incredible through both reading and unhauling. I am scared that this is gonna really put it back up again. Yes, I've been reading a lot of these books, but I haven't read enough of them. We'll find out. Thank you so much for watching. make sure to like this video. Just scroll down a little bit and hit that like button because it takes you 2 seconds and it doesn't even take you out of the video. Please do it. It really, really helps us creators. Thank you. Thank you for doing it. It makes me so happy. Thank you. But yes, I will catch you in another video soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.